Welcome everybody, Brady here from BGWX back for another video breakdown. We have multiple storms upcoming here. We potentially actually have 3 storms coming, maybe even 4 technically over the next like 10 to 12 days. It's again, once you get so far down the line, it's hard to nail down specifics obviously, but over the next 6 days or so throughout this week, we will have 2 storms this week likely that we're going to track. It's going to be more of a not if they hit, more of a where are they going to hit when it comes to this upcoming pattern here this week. So going to get very active. As you know, a lot of people got 1 to 3 inches of snow, and Maine ended up getting 3 to 5 from the Clipper last night. And now we have more storms to track here, and there's going to be ice threats with these as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here's the Euro AI, right? 500 millibar vorticity, and my favorite. Again, we're just looking at the upper level strengths, the strength of the spin at 500 millibars in the atmosphere, and we're looking at the upper level energy. Basically, is the simplest way to put it, and able to read this and able to get an idea of what the atmosphere is trying to tell us, basically. And so when I look at this, it's what stands out here, right, is we have upper level energy getting out ahead, out in front of the main vort here. We're going to have cold air in place. We can view this here, and we can go to the P-type map. And you can see here, we can go to, we are in United States already, but we can go, no, we can keep it here. And we'll zoom in, and, one thing we notice here about this setup is, right, we have cold air out ahead in place already, and then we have warm air advection, so we're having warm air surge up here to the north, right? We have southeast ridge present here. We have high pressure that comes in behind it, right? So more cold air in behind this system, and then so now we set up a battleground zone somewhere in here. And the question is, where exactly does that set up? There's likely going to be some sort of front end thump for a lot of people, maybe not that far in here, likely. The question is, does this slide further north? Is this able to slide a little bit further south? Or, there's a little bit of an in-between here, but I would say in general, north of New York City is a decent bet to be able to at least be able to get some sort of accumulating snow out of this event. And then I would favor, north of about 84, really, in Connecticut, to be able to get the most significant accumulating snow out of this event, to at least, stay snow for a good amount of the event before switching to any freezing rain. And then there will be a freezing rain threat here as well, especially with this event here for the mid-Atlantic into the Northeast and into the Midwest as well for people. But the focus will, as we know, we focus more on the eastern part of the country and more of the eastern seaboard. And right here, there definitely is some concern for icing, and I definitely have to keep a keen eye out for that sleet and freezing rain potential, even if you do see snow potentially. That warm air surges north, sometimes that warm air. Even though I will say, though, it's a weaker low pressure system, so we won't be wrapping necessarily as much warm air into this system, but we will create a little bit of a nice thermal gradient with the, with the system that should be able to allow potentially. You can slide here to the EPS, and you can get a general idea that we can see all the panel members here. These are 25. You can see a lot of them showing a good front end thump in place. There's 25 of the members, and then here is also another 25 of the members, right? All 50 showing a good front end thump in place, with a lot of the focus into southern and central New England for much of the snowfall. Again, generally probably not more than like a 3 to 6-ish for a lot of people, but there could be a little bit more potentially in some places. As we get closer, we can kind of fine tune those details, but more of a 1 to 3, 3 to 6-ish kind of event. But we'll pack a little bit more of a punch, and then with the ice threat on top, this does make this, definitely more of more than just a weak, nuisance system. That ice threat on top of that really does present a concern as well with this system, and with how widespread of an area this is going to cover as well. Definitely a storm of concern here, and then that covers that threat. So then as we move on, we then have a concern for another winter storm here. We can slide back to the Euro AI, which has been performing pretty well, but it just it doesn't matter the model, the general idea with the threat. Then we have another system to track, and I'm actually just going to switch it to the Euro so I can get a little bit better quality, and it's actually pretty close to the Euro AI as well. But you can see similar setup here. You have big ridge dominating in the Southwest Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico here. And I can screenshot this again so we can draw on it. And as you can see here, right, this big dome of high pressure, right, so they get a surge of moisture. Oh, it's glitching. The surge of moisture up here from the Gulf of Mexico and off the Atlantic, and then you'll see that cold air out in place, and now we create this thermal gradient, this baroclinic zone like we were talking about here in the upcoming pattern we're going to see, and that creates a bit of a battleground zone here for these areas. Likely it just happened to draw it somewhat nicely there, luckily. And then so that's the kind of the general idea of the setup here. You can see your upper level energy here, and this will track and slide out into this area. See confluence, you have your cold air in place, so that's kind of preventing this thing from being able to, the system from being able to drive north and cut. So this thing is going to wrap in moisture and slide out, and that's how this next system coming this weekend is going to be able to come in and produce another significant winter storm. And there could be a higher more legit snowstorm potential with this event too. I'll just show you the P-type map, for example, here. This, it will change, the general idea will change, but we're looking at, again, another freezing rain threat. And I'm actually just going to use the Euro AI because I don't want to get too caught up. Just the general area you can see is we're going to be able, and I don't mind zooming in here. You can see now we're looking at another concern. Again, likely not a super strong low pressure system, but remember that thermal gradient that you're creating is going to be able to drive up precip here up the east coast here. So we flood warm air, surge of warm air. Again, doesn't get wrapped in tight so much, remember, because the system's now kind of more just sliding out rather than wrapping and gaining latitude. Not that you can't wrap up a system sliding out, but with this specific setup, it's more so thermal gradient created, and we'll kind of see this thing pop out, maybe be able to surge a little bit, so we could have potentially some sort of mixing concerns in here for this area. But again, kind of the same idea. North of New York City, I would say, favor to see the most snow with this system. And again, these areas in here, I would say, favored to see the most snow out of this system. I would say, again, north of New York City, but this could shift a little bit south maybe too if we do see more of that cold air press, or we could see that, again, that concern for that mix line be able to surge northward, and we would see higher sleet totals versus snow totals, likely, and maybe higher freezing rain totals as well, depending on the thermal profile, meaning exactly where the air parcel, how long it is past the freezing mark. So that's a little bit more in-depth, so we don't need to go into that too far. And again, beyond just a really impressive signal we have going on here in the future. Now we can go to the ensembles for this far out now, but there is another storm to kind of watch down the road here, and this is kind of the setup, and I'll use 500 height. Another very intriguing setup here around around the 11th to 12th. And what we get here is, zoom in and you can see, so again, remember 500 height, so versus vorticity, we have that ridge here over the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, and we have a trough, right? So cold air pressing down through the central, and we have cold air in place already over the eastern part of the country. We have upper level energy drop in here, and we'll kind of ride this thermal gradient, and then we see, depending on the track, this could be maybe, I would still favor, I think places further south, but I would favor north, northern mid-Atlantic northward for now. We'll see. There is definitely some model variance on that. Some suggesting that this could be maybe even get some southern places involved in the mid-Atlantic. So we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely an opportunity for places further south to get involved. But again, I would still favor, north of the south. I would more favor mid-Atlantic and northeast specifically for this system. and there's good ensemble support for that as well. But again, that baroclinic, that thermal gradient, that baroclinic zone sets up where cold air is meeting warm air. That's really what we look for, especially in the winter time, and that's where we can kind of create our magic. And there's definitely some big storm potential with this, potentially across even the Midwest and into the Northeast, and you could even extend that out, really out to here. So that's kind of would be a general area to watch with this system. Still plenty days out, way down the line here, but you can kind of get a general idea for how this sets up. And then beyond is a little bit tricky, but you can see there will be more threats down the line. That is a very that is an impressive setup there too for potentially an East Coast snowstorm. That there is some support there. You get kind of almost a 50-50 low Greenland block with Atlantic ridging. That would be a heck of a setup potential there, as well down the line. But that's way far out, 300 hours. So trustworthy issues with models down the line there. So active pattern, and could be 3, 4, 5 storms maybe over the next like 15, 16, 15 days or so. It's hard to say how many, but you know just be aware there is an active pattern definitely in place here, and there is definitely going to be a lot of snow stacking up for people in this pattern. It's not going to be if, the question is going to be where. Especially over the course of the next 7 to 10 days, we have storms coming. The question is where, not if, where with these systems, because there's a little bit less variance where it's not, tracks off the East Coast and wondering if it's going to come up. No, these are tracks that are going to slide across the country and produce significant snowfall. So, again, continue to stay updated. I'm definitely going to try to go live tonight for y'all. So we got very, very busy lately, but I promise I'm going to do my best to go live for y'all and be on the lookout for that tonight. But had to give you all something, of course. Very busy times ahead, and we got to keep going here. So I appreciate all the support. Hit that like and subscribe if you are new. It's very much appreciated. Doing my best here to give you all the best of my thoughts I can, and give you the best forecast I can as well. So I appreciate it very much. All the growth here this 2025 has been very welcomed, and I can't thank you guys enough. Peace, everybody.